Hey guys, just finished watching The Flash, Season 5, Episode 3, The Death of Vibe. What an interesting episode. I got a lot of points here to talk about, so we're going to try and make this video not too long, but we'll see where things go here. But first off, we start off with the Flash, we start off with a flash forward to Nora's time where we see her as a young child and stuff. She's going through the Star Labs Flash Museum, and we see that the Star Labs is the Flash Museum. So I think that's an interesting idea that it later becomes the Flash Museum. I think that's a really appropriate thing for the Star Labs thing. I think it really is cool to see that, and I can't wait to see a bit more of things like that. You know, maybe teases to there. Maybe it would be cool if they get if they have a section there versus with team up crossovers with Arrow and Flash and Arrow and Supergirl and all the other potential crossover stuff, and I think that could be an interesting idea. Maybe teasing the upcoming crossover type thing as with a just kind of a prop or something. I think that could be cool. Maybe we get a look at a Batarang type thing, kind of teasing that again could be cool, or just a little bit of something we haven't seen before. So I think it could be cool to see us do different things later on as we get little flashbacks into flash forwards into that Flash Museum. I think that's really cool seeing that there. Then Nora talks about, because we pick right up from like the last episode where Nora says that she knows who Cicada is, and she says that they never catch Cicada. Even Supergirl, the Legends, and the League, and also Green Arrow, they all help, but nothing ever happens, and they never even catch them. So I think that's an interesting idea, and I would like to see going to the tech that's inside of the Cicada's dagger type thing. Is it tech? Is it magic? Is it, what is it? How does it capture stuff? And how does it work on different people? Is it able to take, they never talk about it, but they talk about how, they mention because they talk about Legend, Supergirl, and the League. Assuming obviously the Justice League, I'd imagine it would be that. But I think the idea with that, and someone mentions, what about people with no powers, like Arrow and stuff? Like Green Arrow and stuff, and I think she says that he tries but nothing happens. So I think that's an interesting idea, kind of playing with that. Does it take away his skill? Would it take away his skill level type of thing? And I think that could be an interesting idea. Could it take it away his skill level, and he loses marksmanship? He loses his skill that he's made all over the years. I think that could be an interesting idea to see if it ever works like that. So far I don't think it's like that because of the way they mention it, but I think it could be something cool to play with as things go on. So we see that Cicada kind of is starting to look into looking at Vibe on the computer and stuff, and he sees a lot of photos of Vibe. He sees Joe in the background of the photos and stuff, so he's going to go after Joe. So we see that. And then they're trying to find out who to get Cicada and stuff. So Nora's her plan is to use one of the Sherlocks, one of the wells, and they end up using. They go for one well, it doesn't work out. They go for Sherlock wells and stuff. And I don't know how I feel about these Sherlock wells. They're kind of these different wells. They're kind of a bit silly and stuff. The first few were kind of okay because they were serious characters, and it wasn't him doing kind of bad accents and stuff, but. Whatever, I'll play along with this. But they say that they're going to pay the Sherlock Wells with Star Lab stock. What the hell is that? My first note that I put on it is like, WTF, what the hell, what are we doing with that? Like, Star Lab stock? The freaking place blew up. Yeah, it's been a few years since it blew up. But Star Labs is not running. We had one episode or one little thing talking about how they're trying to make some bit of money and there's some Star Labs stuff going on, but Star Labs is not making any money. I just don't see where the stock would be. And even if the Star Labs was making a little bit more money after, it's been a few years and they could reopen their doors to, having gift shops or things like that, just tourist type things as a museum. I don't know, it's just kind of silly that, I'd just like to see more into where the stock is, what is it making, how is there money in the stock, and what is the stock worth, how much is he asking, just things that I think it would be interesting to see, and I think it would be cool to see that, and even if it's just a kind of a posted online or something like that, or I think it'd be cool something to see as to just where things are going with that, because they can't just pull that out of nowhere when we've never seen any of that. There's no reason for Star Labs stock. That doesn't make any sense. I think it would make more sense if they call up Oliver Queen. They call up, anyone else. I think that could be something cool to see as to if they need some money. And they could get some money there. I think that could be an interesting thing. But, just regular, Star Lab stock, come on. That was just kind of a cheap shot. It was kind of annoying. And I think it would have been made way more cool, and it would have been really interesting is if, she, he texts Oliver. Oliver obviously doesn't get it because he's in prison in Arrow and stuff. And, Kate, and maybe Felicity just texts him back, oh, no, Oliver is out. I can send you some money or whatever. Someone responds. And we just get that him texting on the Flash and someone receiving the text, just texting that over on, and we see them just sending the money, him receiving the money on either shows. I think that'd be really cool. Just a little thing like that would just connect the two shows would be really cool just to have seen that, He sends her the money. We just say, hey, I need a little bit of money. Can you help me? We're trying to find this guy. Blah, blah. And he's like, oh, cool. So here you go. And then it's just like, boom, here you go. I'm not sure how much money Oliver still has. It's, I guess, is he running? I forget if he still owns Queen Industries. I mean, he was the mayor, so either for some money there, but, I don't know. We know also how much, Sherlock Wells is asking. Could it be 100 grand, 100,000? Could it be $1 million? Could it be 50 million? We don't know really as to how much he's asking, but it'd be something cool to kind of check out. And just like I said, the stock for the Star Labs, come on, that's kind of ridiculous. So that Sherlock Wells ends up figuring out that Iris has a tattoo from an old lover. Like, that's kind of interesting, and he points to it as it being on her shoulder, and it's like, that should be something that everyone knows about the tattoo, because she's, worn shirts don't have and exposed her shoulders before, and never had a tattoo. So I don't know, it's kind of weird, but the way Barrett even reacted to it is as if he didn't know about it. Is it a tattoo from Eddie? I think that would be something interesting, and it's something we need to see. And if it's not a tattoo from Eddie, for someone before the show, then then that sounds a bit interesting to kind of just to see who it is type thing. If it's a random, she's had it so long, she waited until after she married Barry to get it, and her child to come from the future to take it off. She didn't think of, during the relationship with Eddie to take it off during the relationship before. So who knows? It would be cool to see. Or maybe it was an Eddie tattoo after he died. That could have been interesting. And yet, maybe she left it. She take it off now. And if she got it after he died, why did she take it off now? So type thing. I don't know. It's just something I don't want to go into. But then we see that Caitlin and Ralph end up looking into her father and stuff, since they had the flash forward. We had the vibe kind of looking into the death certificate that was forged. We see that it was forged by her mother, so they go to confront her. They don't really get anything. She just doesn't really give her anything, and they later on have to break into her files. We see that Flash and XS end up catching the wrong guy. We obviously knew it was the wrong guy when they revealed the face, because we know we've been seeing as the audience, we've been seeing who the cicada is, and we know, even if you know who the casting is, you know who it is. It's the guy who was casted there, Chris Klein, if I'm not mistaken, is his name. He was in, most people would know him from this now, but also from I forget I can't think of it, American Pie movies type thing. So I think that was kind of interesting there, dealing with that and how that, XS and Nora was coming back in time and stuff, changed everything, even though Sherlock Wells has has captured multiple cicadas on different Earth, and this time it's different because of time travel and stuff. And I think that's cool there. We see that Caitlin and Ralph end up finding a suicide note from her father in her mother's files. And as soon as they found that, I was like, could her mother have written that? Could there someone else have written that? I don't know. I feel like there's something nefarious in here. And obviously, Ralph saw right away through her when she was lying right away. I think he didn't really. And at first I was thinking when Caitlin and her mother were sitting there talking, and Ralph was just standing right next to them, but not sitting down with them, like not in the conversation, but just right there. It's like, why was he there? Because this should be, a family issue, just between the two of them. Why is he kind of diving into it? But then again, she wants him there because he's a detective, so he could kind of just eavesdrops on the conversation to just pick up, things that he's picked up as a detective that, she might not have, little skills type thing. So I think that's kind of an interesting, cool little thing there. We see that, and again, they find the suicide note, but like I said, it seems like it's probably created by her mother type thing. Then we see the cicada ends up taking Vibe, because we see cicada ends up finding Joe, since he's threatening Joe, and Joe spends a while getting tortured and threatened by him, but yet he just doesn't stand his ground. He's like he's been through so many things like this, and he decides not to call Flash or anyone like that. And I think that was really interesting until Cecile comes down, and she's the one who ends up calling the Flash team and stuff, Flash and everyone. And that's when Vibe shows up and Cicada kind of takes him off and ends up stabbing him. We saw that, so it'll be cool to see how that kind of affects Vibe. I guess his powers will be gone for a while, since he's still healing his hands. His vibes are not really working throughout this episode. And he's getting stabbed by that thing again, so I got to even more take away his powers. We'll have to wait and see as to where things go with that. We see that Vibe gets evaporated, and they foreshadow this earlier on in the episode with Sherlock Wells faking his death with these pieces of these pieces that explode, and his hat is still there. And I was like, why did all of him disappear, all of his clothes, and not the hat type thing? And at the same time, then when Vibe disappeared, I was like, Vibe disappears, and it takes away most of his clothes except for his glasses and a couple of his 2 gauntlets. Like, what are they made out of that makes them impervious to this explosive device type thing? Why is there nothing left of it? Maybe bits and pieces of glasses. Like the tip of the glasses. I think that would have been interesting. Just a little tip, little sides, just like a really an inch long piece. The size of a little bit longer than a really small pencil. When you're at the end of a pencil and you sharpen it, like that much left of the glasses would have made sense for that size of an explosion, because it looked pretty big, especially when they zoomed out of it. Looked pretty big. So that kind of got me right away. I was like, they're not gonna do that. That's why I just wasn't really worried about it. And calling the episode "Death of Vibe" was cool. It's just I don't know. It's just it was good the way they read it and the way it was done and stuff. It's just the placement of this episode in the season. Episode 3, they're not gonna kill off Vibe in episode 3. That makes no sense. I mean, I guess it's the whole TV show problem. The fact that if an actor is not gonna be done, they're gonna end their show. They're going to end themselves. Maybe if it's the main character, it'll probably be at the end of a season. Maybe in the middle of a season, probably not. Someone like Cisco, he's not the titled character. He might die mid-season. If we kind of pick up where they killed off Laurel. They killed her off around mid-season, just after mid-season, halfway between from the mid-season and another time. So I think that was kind of interesting to see as to where things are going to go. With all that to kind of, because it's just kind of the placement of the episode was just it's episode 3. I don't really think he's gonna die, and so the part of me is no, he's back. So it just really wasn't enough time to kind of stay into that oh my god, he's actually dead type thing. So I would have had played with that a little bit longer, and then have them kind of show up a little bit later, rather than so soon. They did Cisco jump right back there after Cicada took off. Was he really sure that Cicada wasn't just going to come back? I mean, Cicada was injured, and that's why he came back. He took off type thing. So that'll be cool to see as to where things go with that, with his scars and stuff. But I don't know. It was not too bad. It was kind of okay. But it just didn't hit me as much as I would have liked to have. And I think that's just because of the placement of the episode, because it's episode 3 and not season finale or mid-season finale, or even just a little bit closer to the season finale, after the closer to the end of an episode, maybe episode 18 of 23 type thing. That makes more sense as to where they would kill it off. Even if I remember looking at from where they killed off Laurel in Arrow, they killed her off after I think it was around the mid-season, if not just after it, halfway between the mid-season and the end season. So in the middle of the second half of the season, and so that's what kind of makes more sense, and that's where things are more believable. That's where the stakes are. But this is just too early on for things to happen. So then we find out XS kind of saves Vibe, kind of giving him the little device to kind of make a teleport and Vibe away. They make a breach. We see that Caitlin ends up later on decoding her father's science notes and using her kind of made up science notes that she made, her own science elements that she made back as a child, and I think that was really cool. It says a note that says to find her type thing, to find him, and then it's revealed that he's kind of watching her. So I think that's really going to be cool to see as to where things are going to go with that, and also to see as to where things are going to go with how is it all going to come involved with Caitlin, with Cicada Frost. So even though is he going to find her, which I was hoping he was going to find her maybe in next episode. Maybe they could use this, like if they want to take a break and do a filler episode and not focus on Cicada next episode, which it looks like they're not doing that, to maybe focus on Caitlin and her story and Killer Frost. I think that could have been interesting, but it doesn't look like we're going to do that, but we'll get into that at the end of the episode. So we see it at Cicada. We kind of see Cicada has a daughter. We knew about that before. We see her daughter's in a coma type thing. And that's where he kind of reveals that he's kind of cut. So it looks like going to be damaged. So that's going to be cool. It looks like he is somewhat of a metahuman. It's not just in the spear. I guess the spear is really, this dagger is kind of really what gives him the power, how he kind of generates it. He puts the power into it type thing. And I mean, that's really kind of interesting there. Kind of like, I guess it's kind of like Silver Surfer and his board, although he gets his power from the board, where Cicada seems like his power is from him. He just uses the dagger to kind of to throw the power, to control it, to kind of direct it and aim it, type thing at people. So I think that's kind of cool there. See that Sherlock Wells at the end, he kind of suspects that Nora, he questions her that, her decision to stop the satellite, was that her decision or is it someone else's decision? And the way, and he kind of plays it off. But she kind of her reaction to that is kind of like, ooh, maybe they're like, yes, there is. He sees right through me. So I think that's really going to be cool to see as to where things go with that. Is she working with someone else? In her timeline, is the Legion of Superheroes there? And who is the Legion of Superheroes? Because this is a different Earth. Could we get a Earth 1 version of Mon-El? Earth 1 version of Brainiac? Maybe a better version of Brainiac? That would be really cool. So if we could get a Earth 1 version of Brainiac, which is a better version of Brainiac, same actor can play him, and you just kill him off on Supergirl, the one we have, because he's okay. It's just the regular makeup version is kind of terrible. They can redo it again here, have a better version of Brainiac, better looking one, and then just bring him on. Same exact characters, everything is pretty much the same of the character. It's just his actual Brainiac form looks a lot better. I think it could be something they could do, but I feel like using the two shows to do that is a bit much and a bit complicated. So we'll have to wait and see is how they do that. I mean, it's kind of how they did. I guess they did that with Laurel on Arrow. Everyone hated the way she was. Her scream was terrible, and then they just kind of killed her off, and then they brought her back as Black Siren with Flash. But I don't know. They could do something with that maybe here and see different versions. I think it could be cool as to where to see who she's kind of working with. Could be quite fun. And also, I'd like to know is Iris still alive in Nora's time? Whenever she left in the future. How is Iris still alive at that point, Because Barry dies when she's born. She grew up to however old the actress is. I think the actress is probably in her mid-20s type thing, in her 20s type thing, if she feels like around that. So, after that, how old would Iris be at that point? If I'm not mistaken, she should be pretty older if I'm not mistaken, like maybe in her 60s or 80s type thing since 2049. So I think she's probably around 25 years old if I'm not mistaken. She should be 25 years old because the first newspaper in 2024 says that Barry Atlas says that the Flash is missing, and that's when, if I'm not mistaken, is when she was born, around that time. Maybe a few months before that, maybe a year or a little bit more. But let's say she's around 25, maybe 30 if she was, a little bit older than that. But and I think having the whole, her coming back in time, like, did she just leave her mother there? How long does she have until she's? I mean, she has a few years until she's going to be born. But then, how long did she spend with her mother, and why did she leave her mother, just alone like that? And I think that looks like what we're going to be playing with in the next episode. When it looks like Nora goes mad in the next trailer, and that just kind of bothers me. It's like, oh my god, like, it looks like a filler episode. She's just gonna, time travel reason, she's gonna just go crazy for no reason. Now, if Cicada's involved with that, it could be interesting, but at the same time, I feel like if you just want to do a filler episode, you have another storyline, you can make the main story for this season, for this episode, for the next episode, and then go back to the Cicada. If you want to put the Cicada storyline on the back burner to not stretch it out too much and to savor it, I would agree with that. I think that would be perfect. But then take the Caitlyn storyline, put that main episode, and then put make that like the Caitlyn storyline about her father and all that stuff, make that like 80%, 85% of the episode, and then just make the other little bit about Cicada, a very little bit about Cicada type thing, or even not have him at all and just do an episode about Caitlyn and her father type thing, and have him come involved and bring the whole team involved into this storyline. I think that could be something that's interesting. You know, you deal with that, and then you deal a little bit with Nora and her, whoever she's helping her, whoever she's working with secretly, is what we're implying. But we're only applying this out based off of Sherlock, so we'll have to wait and see as to where things kind of go with all that. So all in all, I'm excited to see as to where things go for next episode. I'm disappointed that it looks like it's going to be like a filler episode, but we'll have to just wait and see, and fingers crossed that it's not a filler episode. But it looks like it's going to be. So let me know what you think, guys, about this episode in the comments below. Let me know what you think about the next episode. Do you think it's going to be a filler episode? And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.
I'm Captain America, here to talk to you about one of the most valuable traits a soldier or student can have.
Subscribing.
Sometimes subscribing is the key to victory. Sometimes it leads to very little, and it seems like it's not worth it. And you wonder why you waited so long for something so disappointing. How many more of these?
You're still here.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, guys. Peace.
It's over.